What's up, people? Today we're gonna check out the 4,000 years of music explained. So basically, the origin of music. I'm a big fan of music. I listen to music all the time, and this could be interesting to know the origins. Where it started, because I believe music started in Africa. Um, but of course, if you read the Bible, they say the devil or Satan you know was the head of music up up there, so he brought the music down to the world. But I don't believe in that completely. I believe God created everything, and let's see the history of this. Let's get into it right away.
If you were born in Beethoven's time, you'd be lucky if you heard a symphony twice in your lifetime, whereas today it's as accessible as running water. We're drowning in music. We in the West have tended to have a misconception that history of music is a history of works or composers. This tends to reduce music into an object, into an exhibit in an imaginary museum. It also overvalues the role of a composer compared to
Dissing all the greats is crazy.
most people who are innately musical. And I wanted to get away from the usual thing of which composer wrote what piece at what time to see the bigger picture. We're in that kind of moment of the global, of the universal. And music is absolutely universal.
Here's a point there. Music is definitely universal. Because recently I was just listening to Burna Boy, his new album No Sign of Weakness, and I don't understand what they're speaking, what languages they're speaking. I know it's Nigerian languages or slang or pidgin or. But because of the sound, I'm able to vibe and feel the music. I may not understand, but the music is just like a feeling.
I'm Michael Spitzer. I'm Professor of Music at the University of Liverpool in the United Kingdom. I've written a book called The Musical Human, A History of Life on Earth.
Now take images from this to that requires
arts,
more than just
YouTube
technical
chill.
knowledge. Unfortunately,
The evolution of music. Let's go.
It's almost inconceivable to write a prehistory of music because Edison invents the phonograph in the 1870s.
Phonograph. So this is what they used to use music. This is where music used to come out from. It just looks like bare metal. I don't get it.
Granted that we have no record of any sound. In terms of the evolution of instruments, the very oldest instrument we have is a human voice.
This is like the opera. I'm singing. You know what I'm saying?
We also have lithic instruments made of rock, such as stalactites, or the famous rock gongs in Tanzania.
The
But the
Serengeti.
landmark is a
I
discovery
didn't know there's, the gongs. I didn't know about gongs. And it's in the Serengeti in Tanzania. Interesting.
of bone flutes, flutes made out of the bones of vultures, and they're dated about 40,000 years, and they were found in the South German caves.
Bone flutes.
One of the problems with instruments is that the materials biodegrade. So we have to work inferentially by mapping from what we do know. If you're looking at the broad picture of the evolution of sapiens, then the epochs are hunter-gatherer, farming community, and then the founding of cities and city-states. And each of these epochs is associated with mentalities. So hunter-gatherers tended to be nomadic, and if you're essentially journeying through a landscape, what you don't do is carry heavy instruments. Music has to be portable, ideally just a voice, or if not, a very light flute or a small percussive instrument. And if you look at the music that is played by the Cameroon Pygmies, every time they play a piece, it sounds different. It's very much music of the moment. Now, what changes
They're
when
using sticks as well, bro. That's crazy, bro.
you invent farming? You settle down, and your whole mindset becomes fixed on the circle of the seasons, the circle of life. And you invent repeatable work, and the structure of the work becomes as cyclical as life itself. You invent a circle in music, you invent musical rituals. And once music migrates from the farm to the town,
Okay, so basically prehistory, they have no records of that. The hunters and gatherers, those are pretty much people who used to draw stuff on the rocks, the hieroglyphics. All those people, and they used to, hunt and needed light musical instruments, like he said. And then farming communities, that's evolution. That's when there was like more of like sort of organization in the communities. And then there's towns and cities. Let's check it out.
changes happen. Instruments can become heavy because you start to set quite permanent roots into the town. You create heavy instruments like bells and gongs, but also very delicate ones like harps and lutes, which will be damaged over a journey. And music's function now also changes with the growth of social hierarchy. The job of music is to be a handmaiden, to serve the power of the prince or the church. And musicians become professionalized, and their job is to create music to be listened to for people with leisure.
Does any of you know how to read the musical notes? I think that's quite interesting, if you know how to do that. That's a
The
skill.
origin of what we call concerts. To have a concert requires leisure, requires money, and oftentimes it's the aristocrats or the upper middle class who had the time to sit back and enjoy music performed for them. For most people over millions of years, that doesn't happen. So the rule is that most music was performed functionally, as we say, whistle as you work. Also, it was performed in a participatory way, so there was no distinction between those who create the music and those who listen to it. It was the same people.
So basically, you sing to yourself, is what he's saying. That's crazy.
The idea that we have a composer and we have a listener is a purely modern invention. 1,000 years ago, in 1020, an Italian monk called Guido invents staff notation, and life was never again the same for Western music. Why is that so important? Staff notation was a tool of church control, and through writing chants down, the church could ensure literally that monks singing at the furthest outpost
Look at
of
the view, guys. Incredible. Where is this?
Isle of Christendom literally sang from the same hymn sheet. And then, once the empire expands beyond the Mediterranean basin, and Cortes invades Mexico in 1519, he takes notation with him. 10 years after Cortes decimates the Indians in 1519, by 1530, you have Aztec musicians singing Spanish polyphony in Mexico Cathedral.
Spanish.
So music notation.
Spanish menephony. Hold on. What's that? Spanish menephony.
In 30, you have Aztec musicians singing Spanish polyphony in Mexico
Spanish philophony.
Cathedral. So music notation becomes the sharp end of the stick of globalization. However,
YouTube, chill the
Flexjob is the
ads,
number one
man.
job site to find remote work from home and flexible schedule job opportunities.
now there are various consequences to staff notation. Many of them are frankly bad. By pinning notes down to a page, it's almost like capturing a butterfly. You're taking a note away from the voice, making it very precise.
You see what I'm saying? these notes is quite interesting to like even interpret. It's like reading hieroglyphics, or like some Asian kind of dialect, Greek, those kinds of things. It's like I feel like it's adventurous, and that's the kind of thing I like.
Look at the way most people speak or sing. The pitch slides, it fluctuates, it doesn't stay still. Notation freezes a note, it becomes rather cold and mechanical. It also freezes music as an object, which is actually quite counterintuitive. Music isn't an object, it's an activity, it's a thing you do, like dancing or jogging. But once you turn it into an object, you create a division between the composer of the object and those who merely mechanically reproduce it. We're regaining the...
Like I said, he's talking about music being written down in notes and being read by like pianists. It's kind of not the best thing, is what he's trying to say. Like I say, music is a feeling, and when it captivates you, when it captures you, you just gotta go with the ride, with the vibe, and the flow. So basically, even if you don't understand the language they're singing, it's the sound that pulls you in.
Poetry condition of music, which was the norm thousands of years ago, where we all had an equal stake in creating and enjoying music. Greater integration with technology has served to accelerate a cultural change, and we see that in the extraordinary role of the internet. We can both create music in our homes and share it. The original bone flute was a piece of technology. It serves to extend human capacity. It extends the voice, which extends our imagination. I think it's fair to say that just as what Stockhausen or Beyonce is achieving today would have been completely out of the comprehension of a Mozart or a Beethoven a few centuries ago, we can't even begin to imagine the possibilities awaiting us in the future.
Get smarter, faster, with videos from the world's biggest thinkers.
That's quite interesting to see, the evolution, how it's come from where it was to where it is now, with the high-end production, and back then having lightweight instruments like the horns, and then the rocks, using the rocks. I've seen some using sticks like they showed us in Congo, but I feel like music back then also used to be, in my opinion, used to be much more crystal clear. Because if you listen to the music back then, like Michael Jackson's "The Way You Make Me Feel," that kind of sound, Billie Jean's, and then if you go to the African sound as well, like Angelique Kidjo, Monique Seka, Zaiko Langa Langa, the sound was something raw about it. Like it was so natural. Like when you listen, there's a way it used to like capture you in some way. I don't get it, but now the music is all like, I think, too processed. There's a lot of like, if you listen to the rap right now, the beats, it's just beats right now and less of instruments. See, Burna Boy and is trying to, some African artists are trying to still keep that element to their music, and that's what separates them from the rest. Because even when you go to the state performances, that's why you see Burna Boy is one of the best performers ever right now, because of the music, the instruments used, the drummers, the pianists, the guitarists, the saxophones. That element is still missing in music right now. But yeah, this is part of the evolution. Catch you guys on the next video. Hopefully we get to see some cool shit later. Peace.